Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Shawna from the Porcelano Club. Today we're going to talk about self-esteem. How does that look for you? How can you relate that on a day-to-day basis? I know we talk a lot about you building up your confidence and you being empowered by who you are. But one of the bigger things is that you have to have self-respect in yourself. You got to know what you're worth and what your abilities are. So think of it this way. A lot of times we can boost up our self-esteem. A lot of times we listen to music. Music seems to soothe the body, as one might say. And some of the music we hear, some people feel that they can relate to it and so on and so forth. So we're going to utilize that same analogy, and we're going to look at tips for talking to adults. I think that's one of the biggest things that Miss Shawna hears from a lot of you when you're expressing your feelings and your thoughts. You feel as though the adults are not simply listening or they're not hearing what you say. So one of the things that I like to do before I get ready to literally talk to someone is sometimes I like to hear music. So I think of that one song that really can get me hype and get me going.
Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Hey, 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 oh!
So that kind of gets you going and make you want to kind of move into the next phase. So what would be that next phase? I want to give you some tips on talking to adults. I'm an adult. Your parents, for one, a lot of you sometimes feel that it's difficult to talk to your parents and kind of get your point of view across. One of the things that I always strive on is respect. I think that's the biggest thing. We have to have respect when we're speaking to someone in the adult stages. And just overall, even your own peers. It's just all about having respect for others when they're speaking. So one of the out of my top 10 tips would be for you is to make sure you give an eye contact. Eye contact is so important because a lot of times if you're looking all around and a person is talking to you, they think you're not even really interested in what they have to say. So by giving them eye contact, not falling asleep, but you're actually up and you're looking at them as they're talking to you, that lets them know that what they're saying is actually functioning and getting to you. And you're also, even with that, possibly can give some feedback off of that. Another thing that I will give you, one of the tips I would give you is try to answer questions more than just saying yes, no, yes. And a lot of times we get in that situation where parents may ask you something or someone at the Boys and Girls Club may ask you something, and instead of you just elaborating on something, you just be like, no, I don't want to talk about it anymore, or something of that nature. That's not helping the situation. So one of the ways of helping you to not only build your self-esteem but also your social skills is to be able to elaborate on what it may have been that got you to the point that you are now. And when you're talking to an adult, just make sure that you give them a little bit more. So you're building up that self-esteem to allow yourself to be able to talk to that adult and let them know how you're feeling. Another thing you could do, number 3, is show that you are interested by focusing on the conversation. That kind of goes back to giving the eye contact. So if you're giving that eye contact, if you're not just saying yes or no to a question that they may ask, you're actually giving conversation back. So you're giving more detail as to why that situation happened, or even a topic that a person could be talking about. You're letting that adult see that you're interested in what he or she has to say. One of my 4th tips would be throwback questions they ask you to show interest. So if in fact they ask you a question, kind of bring it back to them. That lets them know that you're interested in what he or she is saying to you. Another one, number 5, be polite by using words like thank you and you too. I think it's very respectful that you show that although a person took the time out to talk to you, or just give you that conversation, and you thank them, I think that lets them know, wow, he or she really actually was genuinely concerned, or even if they faked it, they did a great job at faking it. So that's also important. Number 6, speak up, don't mumble. That's one of the biggest things. A lot of times we'll talk. We were so loud before then, but then when you have the floor and you're there, you're just like, and you're like, what are you saying? I can't understand it. So being comfortable with elaborating and telling what the problem is, or elaborate on a topic of discussion or whatever, that also lets a person know that you're interested in what he or she has to say. Number 7, don't interrupt. That is the biggest thing, boys and girls. We tend, especially with adults, even with your parents, you tend to want to interrupt them while they're speaking. Allow them to say what they have to say, and then ask if you are able to, give your say as to whatever that situation may be, or whatever that topic may be. But allow that person to finish first. Number 8, don't talk disrespectful. One of the biggest things that Miss Shawna always tell you is don't ever be disrespectful, because that's not fair, especially to your parents. You have to keep in mind that a lot of times we don't agree with what our parents say, but at the end of the day, their last gesture is the one that you have to go with. So most definitely be very respectful and not be disrespectful in any kind of way. Number 9, if you disagree, do it in a polite way. Another thing that I've told a lot of you, you may not always agree, but to just basically flat out tell a person what you're not going to do, that's being very disrespectful. It's not being polite, whether if it's not a parent and if it's just a teacher or someone at the Boys and Girls Club. If you disagree with something, that's respectful. I mean, by telling them I disagree with it, but just don't do it in a negative form. And I think that in itself will ignite something else. So to eliminate that, you can disagree with something, just go about it in a polite way. And lastly, in the conversation with one of your conversation enders, so kind of like you reiterate something back of what the conversation was about. Always remember that the attitude is the little thing that makes the big difference, and that is a motivational quote. So I hope this helps you a little bit. I know it's probably not a lot, but it's a starter. I want you to try it and see how well it works for you. It also allows you to build up your self-esteem and not feel like your opinion or your voice doesn't matter. So follow those steps, and hopefully it works for you. It has worked for me. Okay, until next time. Bye.